Ethan Carter never imagined that the hardest part of becoming a single father would be the silence. It wasn't the sleepless nights when his daughter Lily had nightmares, or the endless piles of laundry, or the struggle to braid a little girl's hair before school every morning. Those things were difficult, but they gave him purpose. The silence was different. Every evening after Lily fell asleep, the tiny apartment felt far too big for one man carrying the weight of two lives. Ethan would wash the dishes, prepare tomorrow's lunch, check Lily's homework one last time, and then sit by the window with a cup of coffee that usually went cold before he remembered to drink it. 3 years had passed since his wife Emily lost her battle with cancer, yet the empty chair across the table still looked as though it belonged to someone who had simply stepped away for a moment. Friends had slowly stopped asking if he wanted to go out because his answer was always the same: maybe next time. But next time never came. His world revolved around work and his daughter, and somewhere along the way, Ethan had forgotten that he was still a person outside of being a father. Every weekday followed the same rhythm. Ethan woke before sunrise, packed lunches, woke Lily with gentle jokes that always made her giggle, dropped her at school, and rushed to the corporate headquarters where he worked as a senior financial analyst. The company was large, demanding, and obsessed with performance. Deadlines piled up faster than paperwork could be cleared, and employees often stayed late hoping to impress upper management. Ethan couldn't afford that luxury. At exactly 5 o'clock, he closed his laptop, regardless of who frowned at him, because daycare charged by the minute after closing. Some co-workers whispered that he lacked ambition. Others assumed he simply wasn't committed. None of them knew he spent his evenings helping with spelling homework, cooking macaroni shaped like little stars because Lily loved them, and reading bedtime stories until she drifted to sleep clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. The person who understood him better than anyone at work was his longtime friend Marcus Reynolds. They had started at the company on the same day nearly 10 years earlier, survived impossible projects together, and remained close despite life pulling them in different directions. Marcus had watched Ethan transform from a carefree newlywed into a devoted husband, then into a grieving widower, and finally into a father who sacrificed every dream without complaint. One Friday afternoon, while everyone else hurried toward the elevators, Marcus leaned against Ethan's cubicle with a grin that looked suspiciously confident. "I'm tired of watching you pretend your life ends when you leave this office," he said. Ethan barely looked up from the spreadsheet glowing on his monitor. "My life starts when I leave this office." Marcus laughed softly. "Exactly why you need one evening for yourself." Ethan shook his head. "Not interested." Marcus wasn't discouraged. "Too bad, I already arranged it." Ethan finally looked up. Arranged what? A blind date. The silence that followed was so complete that even the nearby printers seemed to stop humming. "You what?" Marcus folded his arms proudly. "Her name is Sophie. She's kind, intelligent, funny, volunteers on weekends, loves kids, and before you say no, she's fully aware you're a single dad. I'm not going. You haven't even met her." "I don't have time. You have exactly one dinner." "I have Lily. I already spoke to your sister. She's thrilled to babysit." Ethan stared at him in disbelief. "You planned this behind my back?" "I planned this because someone had to." For a moment, Ethan wanted to be angry, but beneath the irritation was something else. Fear. Dating meant admitting that life had moved forward. It meant opening a door he'd kept locked for years. Emily had been the love of his life. How could anyone possibly follow that? Marcus seemed to read every thought crossing Ethan's face. His voice softened. "Nobody's asking you to replace Emily. That's impossible. I'm asking you to remember you're allowed to smile again." Those words stayed with Ethan long after he left work. Saturday arrived with clear skies and warm summer air. Lily spent the morning helping him bake chocolate chip cookies, carefully placing too many chocolate chips into each one. When Ethan told her he was going out for dinner that evening, she tilted her head with the innocent innocent curiosity only 7-year-olds possess. Is it with a friend? I guess so. A boyfriend or a girlfriend? He laughed awkwardly. A girl. Lily's eyes widened dramatically before she whispered, "Does that mean you're getting married?" Ethan nearly dropped the cookie tray. "No, absolutely not," she giggled. "I was just kidding, Daddy." Children had an extraordinary ability to make adults realize how seriously they took themselves.
That evening, Ethan stood in front of his mirror longer than he cared to admit. He couldn't remember the last time he'd worn a navy blazer without attending a funeral or business presentation. After changing his shirt twice, he settled on a simple white button-down. Nothing too formal. Nothing that suggested expectations. His sister teased him relentlessly before pushing him toward the door. "If you come home before dessert," she warned, "I'm changing your Netflix password. You've become very dramatic." I learned from Lily. The restaurant Marcus had chosen overlooked the river, with soft lights reflecting across the water and quiet piano music floating through the dining room. It wasn't extravagant, but it felt elegant enough to make Ethan suddenly aware that he'd spent the last 3 years eating children's meals and takeout containers. He arrived 15 minutes early, then spent 14 of those minutes wondering whether leaving immediately would be rude. At exactly 7 o'clock, a woman stepped through the entrance wearing a simple emerald green dress and carrying herself with calm confidence. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She smiled warmly when she noticed Ethan awkwardly standing beside the hostess stand. "Ethan," he nodded. "Sophie." She smiled. "I was beginning to think Marcus gave me the wrong restaurant." They both laughed. Instantly, some of the tension disappeared. Dinner began with harmless conversation. Sophie taught elementary school. She loved reading mystery novels, hiking on weekends, and baking cinnamon rolls badly enough that her students politely pretended to enjoy them. Ethan admitted his own cooking skills depended heavily on frozen vegetables and YouTube tutorials. They laughed more than either expected. Sophie never treated Lily as baggage. Instead, she asked thoughtful questions about her favorite books, her hobbies, and what kind of father Ethan enjoyed being. That single question surprised him. "What kind of father do I enjoy being?" "Yes." He smiled softly. "The kind who never misses bedtime." Sophie's eyes reflected genuine admiration. "That's a beautiful answer." For the first time in years, Ethan felt seen. Not as an employee, not as a widower, not as someone people pitied, but simply as himself. Then everything changed. The restaurant entrance opened again. A tall woman in an elegant charcoal business suit stepped inside, confidently greeting staff members who clearly recognized her. She carried herself with effortless authority, her sharp eyes scanning the dining room before stopping abruptly. Her expression changed. She had spotted Ethan. His stomach dropped. Sophie's smile faded as she noticed him staring toward the entrance. "Ethan," he barely managed to answer. "My boss." Sophie's eyebrows lifted. Before Ethan could explain further, the woman walked directly toward their table. Every step felt heavier than the last. This wasn't just any manager. It was Victoria Langford, the company's newly appointed chief executive officer, a leader famous throughout the industry for expecting perfection, remembering every employee's performance review, and making billion-dollar decisions without hesitation. She stopped beside their table. "Ethan Carter." Her calm voice carried just enough surprise to freeze the air around them. "I wasn't expecting to see you here." Ethan stood quickly. "Good evening, Ms. Langford." Victoria glanced briefly toward Sophie, then back to Ethan. A slow smile appeared. "Interesting." Before Ethan could understand what she meant, Victoria calmly pulled out the empty chair at their table. "Would you mind if I joined you for a moment?" Ethan and Sophie exchanged stunned looks. Neither of them realized that this unexpected interruption was about to uncover a secret connecting all 3 of their lives. A secret that would change everything they believed about coincidence, loyalty, and the future.